Thank you very much for that, Patrick. And our next guest may be familiar to you as he is our resident filmmaker here at Chaos TV. And I might add, if you like a little bit of like the chaos that Patrick and I bring, well, this is the third of three, the powers that be, that I may have said a few words on air about before. Excitedly, he has just launched a crowdfunder for a new short film he has co-written and will be directing called Waiting for the Ice Cube to Melt, and so we thought we'd have him on to tell us about it. Hello Alex, welcome. Finally got you on air for a change.
Yeah, good to be chatting with you, Pudge.
You can't be saying the things you say usually from behind the scenes anymore.
I never say anything.
So, easy one to start off with. Tell us what the film's about.
So the film is about Nova, who's a young woman living by herself during the first lockdown. And basically what happens within the film is we sort of see two worlds that she lives in. Her reality, which is sort of this small, cramped apartment where she's living by herself, and her mind, which is visualized by a forest. And so the idea is we sort of see the impact her sort of poverty and isolation has on her mental health within this sort of forest space and the way in which they're interconnected. And so through the film you see the struggle within those two spaces until finally she manages to sort of confront it and find the ability to leave the house. And after that she manages to find that there is a sort of community waiting to welcome her, and sort of you visually see what is needed really to tackle the sort of isolation and the mental health that she's suffering from.
That's quite awesome, because I can imagine there's a lot of people out there at the moment that are feeling like that. I mean, myself and my partner for the last year, obviously we had each other, it's not quite the same, but we still felt the effect of being locked away for so long. We actually stayed locked away even in between lockdowns because we were so worried about family members, and it did get to us both. We had to sort of help each other through the mental states of that, and to be by yourself, I can only try and begin to imagine. Obviously, coronavirus, big part of this, but what was the main inspiration for the film?
Well, I'm a big believer in sort of the more personal you kind of get with things, the more sort of universal they can become. And so during the first lockdown, I was living by myself because my partner ended up going back to stay with her parents because they live out in the sticks, so we thought it'd be best if she was back there with them. And usually I'm sort of seen as someone who's sort of, very confident, very outgoing, sort of you wouldn't really sort of associate maybe sort of mental health struggles with myself. But it was a very difficult period, that few months living sort of by myself. And so I found, even though I was sort of doing lots of Zoom calls and sort of, doing my best to still engage with people, I was feeling increasingly sort of disconnected and isolated. And then before I was here, I was freelancing as a filmmaker, a writer, director, and so basically all that stopped. So there was sort of nothing, there was no sort of purpose really in my day to day. And so then a few months ago, my partner suggested I maybe write about the experience because I'd written a poem about it, and so I sort of took that and began to write the script. And then what I tend to do is I tend to write female characters to sort of disassociate myself a little bit from the experience. But then what I've hopefully done is poured in all that experience and tried to represent that struggle that I think a lot of us do have, even those who seem really confident, we do have. And I think that's really what we're trying to highlight in the film is that day-to-day grind of battling with mental health. It's not just like these one-off episodes, it's a constant, and what we have to try and do to really overcome it.
I mean, you've highlighted something there that I'm constantly trying to talk to people about, and there's so many people that are like yourself that you would never expect, even in people themselves, to have these kind of mental health issues, but no one is impregnable by it. I mean, you look at people like Robin Williams, who sadly passed away, and then obviously Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson quite a while ago admitted to having a lot of problems with depression for such a happy chap. So such a great thing to highlight. I like your method of dissociating as well by using a female character. It's quite good, yet you still manage to bring in all your own thoughts and feelings about it. On a personal level now, how many films have you made?
So this will be my fourth short film. Well, technically I've made more, but there's only 4 I'll speak about. The ones you make at college and stuff get hidden away. But no, I made, so when I went to the uni down here in Falmouth, and I made my graduate film was a sort of sci-fi, sort of inspired by
cool.
Blade Runner, Logan's Run, all that kind of thing. So it's heavily stylized, heavy anti-establishment kind of vibe to it. And then I ended up making sort of like fashion films and dance films after that, because it was so stylistic. But then the film I made after that was a film called Escape, which was sort of based, which was a domestic violence film about a family escaping from the perpetrator. And that's now got, I think, 160,000 views on YouTube. So I don't know how. I think just it right timing or something with the algorithm, but that's had a really great life as well. And so, yeah, but then sort of that's, I think, why what I've tried to do with this film is, again, mix the personal with the stylistic. So I think what I've sort of shown with my sort of previous films that I can make really stylistic stuff and I can make really raw, sort of almost kitchen sink stuff.
Yeah.
And so now what I'm hoping is to sort of combine those two things with this film and sort of take inspiration from what I've done before.
It sounds like you've got a nice broad range of styles that you're able to call upon whenever, which must be really handy to have. Having that many views on YouTube as well, was that recently it's just shot up? Or
I put it up in, I think it was like late 2018, and then it's sort of, nothing really happened. I checked it like a few months later and it was at like 10,000. And then it's still now, it gets about 200, 300 views a day.
That's incredible.
It's sort of stayed like that for about 3 years. So it's clearly, you know, people constantly looking for it. It's obviously a film that connects with a lot of people, yeah.
Could do with you on my streaming. I've got to ask, this is an obvious one. I think we've been asking everyone this on the radio, on the TV. How has the pandemic affected the filmmaking?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where this film sort of stems from. As I said, I was sort of freelancing as a writer-director for sort of 5-6 years. Then when the pandemic hit, you know, everything shut down. I think, you know, the arts are in the news quite a lot as well. You know, you couldn't go to theatres, you can't be on film sets, no live gigs. I think very quickly everybody realised how much they rely on the arts as well to distract them, but also to, you know, entertain them and engage them. So yeah, I found myself not really doing any filmmaking, also not having the inspiration to write as well, because, you know, you're in such a crazy period, and I think it was like that for everyone. But I think when the thing that you do is also like a form of expression, that kind of gets sort of cut off. You sort of lose your way of sort of talking about things. But then I was lucky enough in late January to find out about here at Chaos, and I was offered a role here, which I'm obviously still doing and very much enjoying. But they've been really supportive here, and also allowing me to still be able to do my own personal films and stuff outside it. So there's a really nice sort of balance how I'm working at the moment.
Brilliant. I mean, I feel the same way. Obviously, I do a lot of my own streaming, and everyone is always so careful to try and not affect each other's personal lives, and yet also be inclusive of each other. It's such a lovely place to work, and it's people like here that really do help you, especially in times like this, like you said. So the film, which audience is it aimed at?
Well, I guess that, I mean, the beauty of the idea, I think, is that it's a very universal idea. People have, you know, experienced lockdown in different ways. Some people may have flourished with all their sourdough and reading that they were doing, but I think other people, maybe for the first time, were realising that they too could sort of suffer from different sort of mental health things that may be going on. So I'm hoping the film will connect with a really broad range of people, from definitely sort of, you know, my generation and younger, who maybe a generation who, you know, have just come out of uni. There's not a lot of job opportunities at the moment. The world's changing at a really great pace. And so it's really difficult in terms of, it was already kind of epidemic before the lockdown happened. So I think, you know, lockdown has just exacerbated it. So it's partly, you know, to connect with them about what has happened, but, you know, I always try to like have a thread of hope throughout my films. I think that's really important. So the ending is, you know, is really about, you know, looking to the audience and saying, you know, we need to build communities that, you know, allow mental health to flourish and thrive, and stop having this sort of dog-eat-dog mentality and sort of individualism, which sort of means that people have to deal with it by themselves. So I think the more we can speak about it and create those spaces that allow people to come together and flourish, then hopefully the film reaches people in that way to sort of talk about that.
Sounds really good. I must admit, I'm pleased to be able to be a part of a good friendship group that does that kind of sort of attitude, which is very open. Everyone will talk about things no matter what subject it is, gender, sexuality, equality, or some kind of marginalistic sort of issue. No one has any issue talking about it, and I find that is so healthy, and it's helped a lot of people within the group. So, you know, something like this to help other people sort of see that and understand and see what it's like without it, and just absolutely brilliant. I can't stop talking about this kind of thing, or trying to express how much people just need to open up a little bit, talk about these things, and really hope this does speak to a lot of people.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the powerful thing about film, is that I think a lot of what it can do is it can sort of lower the barriers a little bit. I think sometimes when you watch like sort of straight on documentary, or you sort of try and go quite bluntly at people about mental health, you don't get anywhere. But what film I think can do is it lets people let their guard down and sort of relate to what's on screen, and also allows people who maybe haven't experienced it sort of maybe understand a little bit more what other people have been going through. And that's sort of the power of the arts and being creative, is you can take these subjects which have such universal sort of meaning and people sort of experience, and really open that up and talk about it in a way that people maybe haven't done before.
Yeah, sort of starts a conversation, gives like a mutual ground where people can talk about your film, and then it sort of slides into more personal, gives people that entry where usually there would be a stigma and it would feel a little bit too, like you said, too blunt. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely brilliant, because I know I'm way too blunt with that kind of thing, but what you're doing, absolutely brilliant. Obviously, you can support this project. How can people do that?
So we have a crowdfunder that we're doing called, basically search for Waiting for the Ice Cube to Melt Crowdfunder. I'm sure we'll put the links out on all the socials and all the rest of it. We're doing really well so far. We're at 22% of our target of £3,000. We're only a few days in, so the crowdfunder's running until June the 20th. So yeah, if people can spare a little bit of money to sort of make the film happen, it's all going to get spent on the film. Nobody's sort of profiting from any of it. And so what we're hoping is, we can make a really powerful film. But the only way we can do that is if we get the funding. So people can go on there and donate, or if they can't, just sharing it. Maybe there's people who you think might connect with the film or might be very supportive of the film who'd be interested in the project. So just putting it out there and sharing it with people would be great.
Absolutely brilliant. I must admit, I'm going to be doing that later on tonight when I'm doing a stream. I'm going to do it before and after, as promised.
Well, you promised me 200 quid, I think it was, Pudge.
Wait, what? I don't remember this.
It's on air.
So you know what? We managed our serious section, didn't we? We just about got through it. But if I was going to be serious with you with anything, it would be about things like this, because I know we have a lot of banter, but there's a lot of seriousness with a lot of things that we're interested in, and it's lovely to be able to be on the same level with you, or at least be able to talk to you on the same level about this. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for dealing with me in a serious mode, which is very rare for me personally as well. If you'd like, obviously, to support Alex's crowdfunder film, we've got a crowdfunder link here, which is crowdfunder.co.uk/waiting for the ice cube to melt, all hyphenated. That's crowdfunder.co.uk, waiting for the ice cube to melt, and that's all hyphenated, that last part. I believe now we are going to go either back to the studio or over to 5 Minute Move More. I can't remember. Over to you guys.
The days are long. The future is gone. I wake up like an ice cube, hold, then through the day I vanish, no more than a spill. I hold on to hope like it's life support. I try to maintain perspective. Each day it shrinks. I'm bored and I wonder why. I look for work that no longer exists. My boredom is poverty and I'm paralyzed. Will I be chosen for a life of comfort and taken to utopia? Should we not just say f*** it and smash the structure?
Hi, my name is Alex and I'm the director and co-writer of Waiting for the Ice Cube to Melt. The film is based on the poem I just recited, which I wrote during the first lockdown. Like many of us, my experience of lockdown was one of isolation, and despite doing a lot of Zoom calls, I found myself feeling increasingly disconnected from society. At the heart of this story is a focus on mental health, and the way in which for many, lockdown intensified the struggle to live with it. Too often when talking about mental health, we individualize it, and pose it as something that's purely mental, rather than something that's interconnected with our environment. In this film, we aim to show that relationship and how the loss of community, human interaction, and for many, livelihoods, has deepened what was already a problem of epidemic proportions. Our story follows Nova, a young woman living in isolation during lockdown, engaged in a constant battle with her mind, one she must wage every day just to be able to function. This battle will be represented by two worlds, Nova's mind and her reality. Her mind will be visualized as a dense forest, luring her deeper into its depths. Her reality, a small, cramped apartment where time passes by without her accomplishing anything. This spiral of despair persists until lockdown ends, and Nova is able to confront her mind, her reality, and get herself out of her apartment. Outside waiting for her is a community, one that is ready to embrace her with music, dancing, and joy, one that creates a space for her to not only cope, but to thrive. I'm really lucky to have an amazing team to help me make this film, but to make it a reality, we need your help. We're looking to raise £3,000 with an extended target of £6,000. This will go towards paying for equipment, set design, special effects, insurance, transport, locations and food, and if we can raise enough, payment for all our amazing cast and crew members. We've got some great rewards for those of you who can spare the funds, from a copy of the film to being an extra in our big final scene, and for those of you feeling extra generous, the chance to be an executive producer. And even if you can't donate, just sharing this crowdfunder will be a huge help. Thank you for taking the time to check out our project. With your help, we can make a really powerful film that processes the last year and shows why we need to build communities and environments that enhance our mental health rather than destroying it.
Brilliant stuff there. Thank you very much to Alex for having that interview with me. It's very rare that him and I are not are on a serious level, should I say. But absolutely brilliant stuff. Very serious film. Very much would like to point you towards it, and also the crowdfunder, which has just been put onto Mixcloud. We are going to now go to another song. We've got Best Song Ever by One Direction. Keen?